Chairman, Ranking Member, for holding this hearing. As you've heard, we had another hearing a couple weeks ago and sort of heard a different story. We heard from the banks, we heard from Visa, who sort of painted a little bit of different picture about what this process actually what involved, particularly when it came to small businesses. So it's great that we're hearing from the small businesses this morning. I conducted an informal survey with the small businesses in my community and just sort of asked them, did they understand when October 1st came that really was a pretty significant date in terms of the liability for fraud being 100% shifted to small businesses, and if they did not have this chip technology. So I found the majority of them really didn't understand that October 1st date. And in fact, I then held a small business seminar with Hispanic business owners who I found that level of knowledge was even lower in terms of their understanding. And many of them didn't have, English was not their first language. And so I didn't really think these banks did a good job. I mean, I think Visa told us they did a 20-city tour to roll out this new technology, which I thought was a little limited considering how big this country is. That they only did it in 20 cities. So I was going to ask Mr. Lippert, did you, and maybe if any of the other of you want to answer, except for Ms. Wade, who has dinner every week with her bank. It's sort of an unfair advantage. How was the process when you actually understood this October 1st deadline? And do you feel like it was, do you feel like I know you speak for the National Federation of Retailers. Do you feel like there was a good sense, particularly maybe for business owners who had some language barriers on the rollout of this new technology?
My experience was that from my involvement with my trade association, I was aware. And that did give me a leg up in starting the process of asking the questions of both my equipment supplier and then my bank. The responses I got from both really made me more nervous about the whole business, which sort of slightly froze me and to put off this. In my store, I care very much about fraud and about my customers. I'm a small store, and I know my customers. So I think that I am going to go the route of EMV and put in all the things that are necessary. But I'd like to feel that what I'm doing is really going to help. And part of the problem is, as I experience it in the shop, someone coming in with a fraudulent card it's still going to pass through the system anyway. It's not actually going to. I'm not going to be able to prevent that aspect of it if they got a proper EMV and I got the machine that puts in, it goes through. If it's fraudulent, it's not going to make a difference. It's going to go through. So I want to make sure that I do the right thing for my customers, and try to do the right thing for myself, and try and sort out, what's the right technology. And there's so many different technologies coming at me at the moment.
Right. Well, thank you. I know I only have 50 seconds left, but I'm going to move to Mr. Mierzwinski. And you all have been talking about the chip PIN, chip signature, and it seems like the chip signature, while maybe less secure, seems to earn more money for the banks. Could you elaborate a little bit more exactly what is the difference of the fees that the bank may earn for the signature versus the PIN?
Well, very quickly, Congresswoman, the Visa and MasterCard own the signature networks that they try to drive all traffic to. Some of the PIN networks are owned by them, but there are choices that merchants can select to have PIN networks owned by others that have lower swipe fees. That's really it in a nutshell. Visa and MasterCard have market power, so they have very high swipe fees on their network, which they trick consumers into using.
And is that an impact on the consumer?
Absolutely. Consumers pay more at the store and more at the pump because the merchants are forced to bake these higher costs into their prices.
Good information. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentlelady's time has expired. The gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Rice,